All right. So we're going to be working with one-point perspective, and there's a couple of materials you're going to need. First is a piece of paper and a pencil, and then a straight edge, such as a ruler or anything you can use to draw a straight line. If you don't have something to draw a straight line with, I recommend looking around the house, see if you can find a piece of mail. Usually there's envelopes are pretty thick, those work well. Sometimes there's a postcard in the mail, or even the back of a notebook can work. But if you're still struggling to find something, you can make your own straight edge just by taking any piece of paper, lined, unlined, doesn't matter, and folding it in half multiple times, creasing it down each time, nice and firm. Okay? You're trying to get that as straight as you can. And then once you have it folded as much as you can get it, you can either staple it or use a piece of tape or just something to secure it so it doesn't unfold while you're using it. And then you can use that as your straight edge, using the folded crease, and you can use it to draw any line, and that will be fine for this project. So get yourself a piece of paper, a pencil, and a straight edge, and then follow along with me. So the first thing I'm going to do is, well, we're going to be drawing one-point perspective, which is a way to make things look three-dimensional or create the illusion of space. So in this sketch today, we just want to create the sense that there is space. So we're going to start with a horizon line, a line separating the ground from the sky, right? Representing the farthest we can see in the distance. Anywhere along this line, we're going to place a point. This is called a vanishing point. You can label it if you want. Sometimes people will label it with VP for vanishing point. Not totally necessary, up to you. But you just want to make a dot that's visible, not too big, just visible enough that it stands out from the rest. Again, you can put it anywhere you want. Now, everything we're going to create in this space is going to look like it's receding or shrinking into that dot on the horizon. So the horizon also represents our eye line. So anything we place will be level with our eyes. So we're going to begin by drawing a shape over the horizon. I'm just going to draw a rectangle. You can do this freehand, you can use a ruler, it's up to you. Depends on the size. If it gets large, it's going to be a large shape, and I'll definitely use a ruler. If it's a small shape, then I might just stick to a, that's allowed. So I'm freehanding it, okay? So I've got my basic shape drawn here. Now, what I'm going to do is connect any of the sides of this rectangle that are facing the vanishing point to the vanishing point. So this side and this side of this rectangle are going to be visible when I take it from a two-dimensional shape and turn it into a 3D form. So I'm going to connect all the corners from those sides to the vanishing point. And to do that, I'm just going to place my ruler, line it up between the two. Sometimes I find it helpful to place my pencil on the corner and then align my ruler against it. And keeping the pencil straight up and down, drawing a soft line out to that vanishing point. You want to keep your pencil straight up and down so that the line actually goes where you want it. If you let your pencil angle and the tip slip underneath the ruler, then the line will be somewhere else. So keep your pencil straight up and down. The other reason we're going, and the other thing is to draw very soft. These are construction lines, meaning they're used to build the picture. Part of them will be removed. So I want to make sure I can erase it without leaving behind the visible parts of the line. All right, so now I have a shape going into the distance, potentially for infinity. It's just not ending, right? It's going towards the vanishing point. So I can chop off this shape or terminate it anywhere I want by taking the same line that's on the edge and moving it down, just like we did with the graffiti letters. Just take the line and move it down to the next place. So this is going to be a horizontal line, more or less. I can line up my ruler, slide it to where I want it to end, and I'll put the same line as there. Check that. A lot of people make a mistake and they end up drawing a diagonal line or something else because it's shrinking, your mind makes you think you want to turn it and make it go somewhere else. No, this line and this line should be parallel to one another. Now, following that same idea, this line here is straight up vertical, so this one should be vertical. Avoid drawing it at diagonal. You can take your ruler, line it up, and then slide it out until it hits that point, right, where the two sides meet, and that'll give me a place to drop my vertical. And now I have a shape floating in space. Right? Looks like it's flying over my head. Because remember, this represents my eye line, so anything going over it is going to be above me. And to further enhance making it look 3D, let's say that I have a light source coming from the other side. If you remember back to first semester when we were shading, we knew the direction of the light source. So that means this side is catching all the light, and the other two sides will be in some degree of shadow. So I'm going to decide that the bottom is going to be dark. So I'm going to shade that in. Now, we just finished a hatching project, so you also have hatching as a technique to create value, or some combination thereof. So you can either shade with a pencil using pressure, or if you prefer, you can use hatching, or combine the two together. Now this is some pretty soft graphite, so I'm just going to kind of fill in the space and then come in and smudge it to cover up all those white spots. And touch it up if I need to later on. And then here I'm going to want a softer gray. I'm just going to put in a little bit less value, very light, very soft. And that helps it look a little bit more three-dimensional by adding some value and using different tones there. Right. So let's move on to a couple other shapes. Next shape I'm going to draw is going to be right on the horizon line. If you want, you can rough it in with freehand, as long as it's more or less perpendicular lines. There we go. And just like this shape, I'm going to draw the lines going to the vanishing point. Except for this one, I'm only going to be able to see this one side. So from here, I'm only going to use two corners. I'm not going to be able to see the top or the bottom. Why is the focus changing? And to chop off the shape, I'm just going to take the vertical line on the side here, move it to the end, anywhere I want, chop it off. I don't need the rest of the construction lines. Those are necessary. And I'm not able to see through the box, so I can get rid of the horizon line inside of there. Now, normally I might leave a lot of this cleaning up until the end of a drawing, but, or unless it gets in the way while I'm drawing. And following the same idea of adding some value, I can imagine that based on the shape of this, the top is getting all the light. Probably the far side here, getting the most shadow, and then the front will be getting some of the light bouncing off the ground onto that. That's what we call a reflected light. So it's going to be a little bit more soft gray in that space. And the last one we're going to draw is below the horizon. So following those same ideas. Right? Any shape you want. This entire shape is below the horizon line. And I'm going to be able to see the side and the top of this shape. drawing construction lines out to each corner. You can draw any shape you want. You want to draw a star, a triangle, rectangle, square, up to you. Same idea. You gotta take this, slide it back, vertical line, matching that, matches there. Be careful, this is where people get confused. That's horizontal, so that has to be horizontal. So I can line it up and slide my ruler up until it hits that corner I'm looking for and use that. A lot of people end up drawing a weird diagonal there. It does not go there. All right. So, and same idea, lights hitting there and there. I think I might just have one medium tone here. And the darkest one, I'm not going to be able to see on this shape, is going to be on the opposite side. As the light is coming from here, it's able to hit both of those sides. You can also tell, because this one's lower on the page, that it's closer to the viewer, where this one is further up the page, therefore farther away. So now I've got 3 shapes in my space. I want you guys all to add 3 shapes into your onto your horizon lines. One above, one on the horizon line, one below the horizon line. Once you have those, I want you to add 2 more shapes, except this time you're going to transform them. And you can put them anywhere. So let's say I want to put one below. All right, so I'm going to put one below, and I'm going to make it a square or a cube. The square is a shape, a cube is a form. Forms are 3-dimensional. So I'm going to draw a line from each of these corners out to the vanishing points. Chop it off using a vertical line here. Horizontal here. Get rid of the rest. So now I've got a square. I want to transform this into something. So just by adding a couple of details, let's say I add some circles here, and I'm turning it into a die or a dice, right? Now here's something that's interesting. The front is facing me, so it's going to be flat, but the top is receding, so anything on there is going to appear distorted. So instead of being a circle, it becomes an oval. Okay. So that's one. And why don't I do another one? Let's see. Why don't I do a thin rectangle? And I'll draw that down. Construction lines. If something else gets in the way, I'm clear there, but like let's say another shape intersected and I blocked, I would just stop the line there, right? So if something else gets in the way, you could stop it. Let's see here, and then I'll end it there. And then maybe this one I will, I'm going to round these out a little bit. And those lines, and I'll come out here, that will come in a thickness here and a thickness here. And then a little bit of an indent, and maybe some lines across here. I'll be like, it's a book. Now this one's a little bit tricky because the letters are actually on a surface that's receding. So in theory, the illusion is all the letters would look like they're shrinking into the vanishing point as well. So I'm just kind of freestyling it right now. Okay. So dice and a book using just some basic shapes. And while we're here, just to add a couple more things to the list. Let's say you wanted to draw a circle. All right, so I've got a circle to make a cylinder, or not happy a cylinder. If it's just a circle, I wouldn't use perspective. But to add perspective lines to a curved shape, I'm going to do is place my pencil tip on my vanishing point and rotate my ruler in from the outside of the curve, turning it in, turning it in, turning it in. As soon as it makes contact with that curve, that's where the line is going to drop off. Right? So same thing, place my pencil on the ruler and I'm rotating in from the outside, spinning in until I hit that corner. Well, it's not a corner. Hit the curve, that's where you drop the line. And then you take the section that's in between the two, and that's what will get copied down wherever you want to end, right? That cylinder. Right? Oh, that can easily become a it's just a stick of dynamite. Right? So those are the basics of 1 point perspective. This is just practice. So after you've got your 5 shapes, you don't need 6, but you can have as many as you want. 5 shapes, 3 basic shapes, 2 that you've at least transformed into something else. Be as creative as you want. Boxes are obviously a little bit easier to start with, but challenge yourself and take a picture and document and submit your work. Good luck. Looking forward to seeing what you make.